Good afternoon, Shawn here with Accelerators Organization, ready for another mentor session for Accelerators Organization. If you want to know more about Accelerators Organization, just go to acceleratorsorg.com and also try to go through all of our videos on the YouTube channel if you want to see what kind of questions entrepreneurs ask and what seasoned business mentors, what their answers would be. Today we've got, I believe, 5 questions coming through, so let's get this thing started. The first question comes from Kimberly, and Kimberly says, can you sell an idea on how to make an existing product better? The background is I sell life insurance when I am slow at the salon, and we have an app that we use, and I feel like there are ways to improve the app to help customer experience, and I wanted to know, how do you pitch an idea and sell it at the same time? If you wanted to pitch this idea to that company, what steps would you take? Okay, I've got about 6 different mentors answering this one for you just to see, what they would do, Kimberly. Here's my response. Entrepreneurs, generally speaking, do not ever get paid to enhance an existing product when they just take the idea to the company and try to sell them that idea. I've actually, and I don't know everything in business, but I've never heard of anybody taking an idea to a company and saying, I've got an idea to improve your product and I want you to pay me for the idea. I've never had anybody that I've ever met or even heard of in all my years of business actually do that. Generally speaking, clients will just ask the software companies and say, these are features that we'd like to see, and then those companies determine if they think there's enough people that will want that feature, and then they will build it into an update or something like that. That's generally what happens in that scenario. Second, but you might be onto a new business idea. I don't know if there's a business around sell your ideas to companies and companies pay for these great ideas. I don't know, because generally speaking, companies get their ideas from either the entrepreneur going out there and getting involved in the world of conferences and networking and what have you, or they get ideas from their current workforce. So maybe you've got a business idea here that you create a platform and a software that people can submit ideas for certain companies, and those companies can choose to pay or not. I don't know, but I know that's probably bigger than what you can get yourself into right now, but I don't know of anybody who's ever done that. Now, the answer to your question is, what would I do if I was going to determine if a company would? Let's just say, for instance, the software is Vagaro, and Vagaro is a software that salons and barbershops use, and I have a feature that I think Vagaro could really benefit from. I might go to the corporate website of that software, Vagaro, look at the contact information, maybe call the company on the phone and say, I was wondering if I could get a phone call with the CEO, or I'd try to do some research and find out who the CEO of the company is. If it's a multi-billion-dollar company, you're probably never going to talk to the CEO, so you might want to talk to somebody in the marketing department, something like that. But I would contact the main company and find out who would be the person that would make that decision. I'm sure they would be like, if you need a feature update, just submit it through our website, and if it's something that we want to do, we'll implement it. But if you're like, well, I want to sell the idea, I could imagine the receptionists laughing over the phone. But that's what I would do, is I would go to LinkedIn and I would find out all the people that work at this company and maybe try to reach out that way and just see if they would entertain even some sort of idea like that. My guess is, my experience is that they're going to say no, but hey, you never know until you ask. And if you've got the time, that's how I would do it. I would just find a way to call the company directly and find out if they would be interested in paying for an idea. Now, here is something that you'd have to take into consideration as you go down that path. You would have to get attorneys involved in order to create a mutual non-disclosure agreement, because if you shared and you didn't have some sort of legal binding whatever, you'd have to share that idea, and then the company could say, oh, well, we already have that idea in the pipeline, and then they just steal your idea, and you'd have no legal recourse. Or, so you'd have to convince the company to enter into a legal relationship Figure out how to determine that your idea is proprietary and that nobody's ever thought of this idea at the company or what have you. It'd be such a mess. But if you end up doing this, I would love to know. But that's what I would do. Okay, the next question comes from Ricardo, and Ricardo says, how does a business analyze where they can start improving and scaling? In simpler terms, how does a $100,000 business differ from $1 million business? What mindset and traits are involved? The background is I operate a barbershop and I'm a barber as well. How can I start analyzing where to start making more revenue and take action right away? Okay, I've got a lot, almost all of our mentors I have answering this one because this is a great question. And our mentors have already answered this question. They answered the 3 questions that if I was in one specific phase of business, 100, 0 to 100, 100 to 250, 500 plus, what do you do in those stages? I'm going to have my assistant find those different links of those videos, and I'm actually going to put that in a portal specifically for you and everybody else that needs to see those videos, Ricardo. But every business, not every 6-figure business is the same, and not every $1 million business is the same. So there's a little bit of wiggle room on the differences between the two. But by and large, a $100,000 business generally is going to be one person, a single operator doing everything, generally speaking. Once you get past that 100,000, unless you've raised money or unless you are anticipating a strong growth, a single operator can get the business to 100,000. Now, at $1 million, that single operator, that CEO, that small business owner, probably, and in most cases, has already built a team. And I'm going to say on average, a team of somewhere between 5 to 20 people. Somewhere in between there. And the only reason they might be at 20 is because they have a lot of low salary positions. At 5, they've got higher talent. Like for instance, AO is going to do, between all my coaching and everything we do, maybe about 600,000 this year, 500 to 600,000 this year. And there's me and Shirley, my virtual assistant, and then I've got about 5 different subcontractors that are just, part-time. And we'll do 600,000. But that's because we're in a service-based, higher ticket with coaching, all that type of stuff. So that kind of gives you an idea. The difference in mindset is to get from 100 to 1 million has got to be a growth mindset. And Ricardo, I know I'm going to start working with you again on December 1st with coaching. Would you shoot me a text message today? Or actually, I'll just remember. I'm gonna send you an email with the goal mindset booklet that I put together, the ebook, and I'm gonna send that to you so you can understand the different mindsets that go into goal setting. We just talked about it at the workshop a couple weeks ago here. The difference is mindset. It's thinking bigger and not getting comfortable at that 100,000 stage, that 250,000 stage. Generally speaking, people that get to the million, they have some serious desire to get to that million. And I'll tell you this, I've experienced just in AO itself, 3 or 4 people that once they got to the million, they were burnt out. And they're having to reset, and they're having to think about what they want to do with the rest of their life because they've spent so many years and it was so difficult to get to the million that now they're burnt out and they're checking out of their businesses. And it's a million. Getting to 1 million doesn't solve all your worldly problems. Getting to 1 million as a business owner, if you did it the right way and it's profitable, it then starts to give you the ability to take a step back from being in your business to then working on the business. So in your situation as a barbershop, for you to get to the next level, it would be the same thing that we've already talked about 50,000 times between you and I, whether you're here in Nashville or when I was coaching you. You've got to get more barbers in the chairs and more clients coming in the store, where you have all 4 or 5 of your chairs with barbers all day long for every hour that you're open, and you're filling every slot that is available, and you are not behind a chair. You could then go start a second location and start building up that location and then keep repeating the process. And that is how a barbershop is going to get to $1 million. One single barbershop with 4 or 5 chairs probably is not going to get to $1 million because there's just not enough potential there. There's just not enough potential. So that is how we have to look at things. It has to be like, I have got to keep focusing on driving more advertising, more revenue to bring more people in, and I've got to start getting myself out of the chair so that I can then work on building a second location. Excuse me. And that's how you're going to get to that $1 million mark as a barber. Okay, hope that helps. Okay, the next question comes from Yolindi, and Yolindi says, what are creative ways on a limited budget to hire and compensate a salesperson, and where would you recommend finding that person? The background is I need to employ a salesperson. What is the best way to pay them? Commission only, hourly with smaller commissions, or simply hourly with no commission? If commission based, then what percentage of the sales is acceptable or standard practice? We are a pillow manufacturer making decorative pillows and manufacturing pillow inserts. Okay, I've got a bunch of mentors, at least like 10, 12 answering this for you. I'll give you my example first of how I hired a salesperson when I first started. I was just like you, I did not have a large budget, but I knew what was possible in a salesperson. And what I mean by this is, as a salesperson myself, I knew how many deals I could close per month if I was making enough phone calls, calling on enough prospects, and closing deals. So I basically did the math and I said, if I hired somebody and they were just doing this, now remember, had to do that and run the business, get the computers ready, do the operations of your business while I was also doing the sales. So I was doing sales during the day and I was doing all the operational stuff, fulfillment at night, 18-hour days. So I knew what my numbers would be for a future salesperson if I hired that person. I knew where to get the leads. I knew what sales scripts were needed to present the company, do a discovery call to figure out if there was an opportunity, how to create the opportunity, how to do the presentation, how to answer objections. I knew the entire sales funnel and stages like the back of my hand. So when I went to hire a salesperson, I knew what they were going to be doing and how they were going to be doing it, and I knew what the financials were because I knew how many sales that they should be making based on my personal experience, and then I didn't have any money to put them on a $5,000 a month salary. So what I did is I did a commission only, and I put an ad out on Career Builder and some other websites back in the day, and I found a guy. And I presented the company, presented the opportunity, showed him my actual sales numbers, and I convinced him to come on to the company and be an independent contractor selling our services. And I just did the math on what my margins were of what I knew I could pay that person and still have a profit left from me. And the cool thing about my business was, just like AO and maybe your business, is I was selling a product and service at the same time. When he made a sale, he got a commission on the hardware and software one-time purchase of what the hotel was purchasing, the product they were buying, but the hotel was going to continue paying an annual service fee to the company. So I knew that I could make a little bit of money off of the initial sale, but a year later, I was going to get these renewals that were going to help grow the company from a recurring revenue perspective. And that's how I built my company. Had I had money, I might have found somebody on a small salary plus commission, et cetera, et cetera. But the point is I knew exactly what the sales process was, how many sales they should make. I knew how to train them, and I knew where they were going to get their leads. I've seen a lot of people try to hire salespeople that did not have all that in place, and their salespeople failed because they didn't know where to get leads. They didn't know what to say. I could teach them about my product, but so it's really important that you've got a lot of experience of knowing how to train the salesperson so they can get out there and know who to call on. Okay. Now, the last question you had is, where can you find these people? I'm going to let Tom Black answer that one for you when he answers it. I know that there was a website called Sales Gravy, which is one that Tom has used a lot, but you can find salespeople on any of the big sites like Indeed, Sales Gravy, and all of those different recruiting sites. You can find them on LinkedIn, all that type of stuff. It could take a good $3,000 to $5,000 of advertising to find the one perfect candidate. the expense of recruiting has gone up. Okay. Okay, the next question comes from Cliff, and Cliff says, when looking to get on social media to start creating content, should my focus be on the personal profile or my company's profile? The background is I'm starting on Instagram first, and I need to be the face of the company, but I'm struggling with what profile I should focus on. Personal profile, talking about my business, or my business page featuring me as the brand. Okay, I've got about 10 different mentors answering this for you, Cliff. And I'm interested to see what all of the other mentors say, because out of all the mentors, I have the biggest presence, as you probably know, on Instagram, and I know social media inside and out. The first thing I say to people that ask me this question is I say, well, why do you want to be on social media? Is there a better alternative of your time than trying to utilize organic postings on social media? Would you be better off slapping 20 or 30 good Instagram posts, Facebook posts, etc., having a good website, and then just running a traditional marketing and advertising campaign on social media, such as the first stage is brand awareness and that type of thing, to just educate people on who you are, put out enough information that helps you align yourself as an expert, as a quality designer, etc., as you build your funnel to start trying to bring those people that are looking at your ads, to bring them in as leads. Okay, so that's what I would figure out is, why do you think that social media is the place? Now, to answer your question, would I use my personal or business? I would 100% use my business account. Because personal account, if you were going to build a personal brand, maybe. But if you have a company and you're the CEO, you're probably going to be the face of the brand, and I would just use the business brand. That's what I see a lot of people doing, especially in larger company CEOs. They either hire an ambassador, they hire a face of the brand, or usually it's the small business owner. And so one of the accounts that I would take a look at that I've done on Instagram, it's called @TheBrandMentor, or maybe it's @BrandMentor. I was getting into branding a lot when I was a partner in a creative agency. So we had this account called the Brand Mentor, and I was trying to get people from Ask a Millionaire off of Ask a Millionaire for that type of content, and find small business owners that really needed help with branding. There's hundreds of posts on there that are freaking amazing. I hired a full-time graphic designer. We did all this branding. I did get some clients and some prospects from that account, and I had really good engagement on that account. But then me and my business partner in that digital creative agency split up, and so I stopped posting on it. But that account has amazing content, and that's the type of content that was getting really good feedback. Also, there's a person on Instagram to follow. His name is Chris Doe. I think his account is FUTUR, like the future, with FUTUR. If you search for him, you'll find him. I got Eric in the group here, of Esney in the group, into his private group as a creative. Chris is probably, in what I've seen on Instagram, the absolute best at what he does. And he's got a membership group, kind of like AO, that is specific for creatives. You might want to check it out. He is probably the best at social media content. And he does a lot of live streams. He does a lot of postings. I know how much time and effort it takes to put into social media. And you and I should talk about it more if you're really going to go down that path, okay? Hope that helps. Okay, the last question comes from David, and David says, do you think 35 years old is too late to transition careers? The background is I'm a mortgage loan originator, and due to rising rates, it's becoming difficult to close 3+ loans a month. I've decided to pick up a trade skill. I'm looking at construction, electrician, or commercial plumbing. Being that I'm 35 years old, not sure if it's too late to get into a new trade. I've inquired about job openings in the trades, and they all want a minimum of a year or more experience. I'm willing to take a pay cut to become an apprentice. What are your thoughts? I've been doing mortgages for the last 4 years and have been in sales for 6 years in Arkansas. Okay, first off, man, I know the feeling. Most of my friends that are in the mortgage business, they are hurting, and most of my friends in the real estate business are hurting. Some of the top ones are still doing amazing. because they have put so much infrastructure and lead generation and relationships, but I would say by and large, the majority are struggling. First off, 35 years old, never too late to start a new career, not a big deal. And since you and I know the inside scoop here, I've already introduced you to Nick, HVAC up in Chicago, and I know Nick is going to look to talk to you and bring you up to Chicago to shadow him, and you potentially moving up to Chicago, kind of like Lane is doing with Alex and Demarius did with Joe. It's one of the great benefits of networking in AO by asking questions, getting involved. I love making these introductions. We've got a lot of entrepreneurs that are growing and have opportunities for people just like yourself that might be looking to make a transition. So I don't think it's too old, 35 years old, to get into a new transition. I mean, dude, I started Uniguest, my last company, at 32 years old. I was 32. I was just getting into it. So you're never too old to get into something else. Don't let your age be a diminishing factor there. As long as you've got the mindset, the desire, the motivation, you understand your strengths, you're willing to have the most won't I will mindset of getting out there and doing what other people won't in order to succeed, like moving to Chicago, most people wouldn't. They'd find some excuse. By starting over, most people would say, well, you know, I don't want to do that. All the things that you're thinking about doing, if you do it, within 3 to 5 years, you could be back up to a 6-figure income and loving what you're doing around a great group of people. Nick and his wife are amazing. They're building an amazing team. There's nothing but opportunity in that company for somebody who's aggressive and motivated. And so I'm happy that AO was able to deliver that relationship to you. And I know working for Nick would be an amazing thing. If I would have met Nick when I was 21 or even 35 switching, and knowing that if I just work hard, he'll show me everything that I need to, I think that's a great opportunity for you, all right? Okay, that's today's mentor session. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and I will talk to you guys soon. Keep submitting those questions. If something that you heard today or something in watching this video or receiving this answer from me or any other mentor evokes another question, if you're like, gosh, I'd really like to know this, hop into the mobile app, click the Ask a Question button at the bottom right-hand screen, the little pop-up, and just ask your question. The mentors need more questions. We are here for you. All of the mentors are donating their time because they want to see you succeed. So keep asking more and more questions. I would like to be doing these mentor sessions every single day, answering questions. So do not hesitate to get into the mobile app and answer a question. Ask a question. All right? Peace out. See you later.